So let me share my own experience, right? Because for me, I guess you could say now I'm a professional, right? When and
Yeah,
Kira and I
right.
first started, when we first started dating and we were married, right? We started dating in college, got married for a number of years. Um, I was doing technical writing, and I mean, my job when I was technical writing, 7 to 4, like, and I didn't have to think about work outside of that time ever, outside of 7 to 4, right?
Right.
And so that was just, that was my schedule. I go to, leave work, leave to go to work around 7, 6:30, 6, get to work at 7, come back. I'm home 4:30 until whenever. I could do whatever. Don't think about work until the next day. Weekends were always mine. Um, and then, decided to pursue law school, and everything sort of changed since then, right? Um, and so for our specific experience, right, and I'm just sharing mine. While I was in law school, I wasn't working full time, and Kira was. We had kids at the time. She was working full time. I was in Austin. She was still here in Houston. So she had the kids. She was working full time. I'm not working. She thought, hey, you're enjoying your life out there in Austin. I have class, twice a day, some days, sometimes 3 times, but like twice a day. I used to take naps. I used to go play basketball. Like, he was like, oh, you living your life. Oh, you're doing it, you're having fun. Right. And so, but there was like a level of sacrifice that she made,
Right.
investing in, this outcome, this career, that we believed would be beneficial for the family, right? So fast forward to when I actually start working, right? So we started working. I'm working full time now. And Kiru initially was working, but I was like, hey, this whole juggling, managing the schedule with the kids and school and stuff like that, I I don't know if this is working for us. I think you should be home. So she stopped working. And she wasn't working. She was just full time at the house with the kids, or not me at the house, but they had school and different things. So she was kind of like the person who was focused on the family. And with that, prior to that time, our the first years of our marriage, we sort of split up duties, right? I would do the kids' evening routine. I would wash the dishes. I would do these other things. And then at a certain point, once I started working full time and was doing the lawyer thing, erratic hours, all this other kind of stuff, and she was home, and I was just like, "You think you want to wash the dishes now? Like you want to do some of the home stuff?" But it was difficult for me to
Yeah.
ask the question because of the sacrifices that she had made prior to. And I had to like
Right.
check myself, like, am I just doing this because I don't want to do it? Do I feel like I can't do it? Like, and so it was hard, even thinking about having to sacrifice my time, my effort, like for certain things with someone I had been with for a while, who had made sacrifices for me. And so I can imagine if you ain't been with somebody yet, like to think about, oh, I got to give this up. I got to do it for who? For you? Oh, you ain't, And so just recognizing the reality of how I felt in those moments with a woman who had sacrificed a lot for me. And so I was like, I checked myself first, and I was like, am I being unreasonable? And then I said, maybe I'm not being unreasonable, but how do we have this conversation? So I'd bring it up, and it was very much like, hey, can we talk about what's going to be the division of responsibilities in the house? Should we rethink these things? And I was like, and I'm being straight up like, like I recognize the sacrifices you made. So I'm not coming about this in a way in which I don't want to do things. I'm happy to do it, but there's certain days where if I've been working all day and it feels differently because you sit in front of a computer, you're not like on your feet or hard labor, but mentally it's taxing. And and some days you're just like, like I'm gonna go put the kids to bed, do all that, and then like stay up and wash the dishes. Sometimes I just want to go to sleep, or I just want to do these other things. And it's like when you think about that, and like, yes, you dropped the kids off at school today. Okay, like, can you do something else? Sometimes but it's like it's a very like different conversation that you're trying to have. And so I say that to say that when you're thinking about the realities of a marriage and a relationship and the sacrifice and just splitting of duties. Like, it's more than just, oh, we'll just do this and it'll work. Like, it takes a lot of like self-reflection. It takes a lot of subjecting your own desires sometimes, what you want, and having a conversation and being realistic. And to your point, sometimes people don't recognize the reality of what that looks like. And they will skip that, or they'll say, oh, it'll be easier with the next person. If it's hard with with one person, oh, this didn't work out, it'll be easier with the next. And it's like, sometimes it's not. Like, I love Nkira. She's the love of my life. We are great, and it's still hard sometimes, And so to think about that with the other demands that you have on your time, and then not having that connection that you've, built with someone else, it's hard to really, like you said, put in the time to establish that and to create that at a certain stage. So the reality is it's difficult sometimes.
Right. And I think a lot of times the same skills that made you successful in your career as an entrepreneur, those skills sometimes don't work in relationships. Relationships is a lot different, because I think in relationships, there's a book with Jerry Chapman called, I think, Love Languages.
The Five Love Languages.
And what you're trying to do is you're trying to love this person. And in order to love that person, if you understand how they think, how they receive love, and once you figure out, say their love language is time, I don't care how many gifts you give them.
Yeah.
I don't care how many dinners you take them out. I don't care what you buy them. I don't care what you say to them. If you're not spending time with that person every day, they're not going to feel love, or they're going to feel like this is not working for me. So just that one idea. Then if you have another person, their love language is gifts, and you're spending all this time, but you're not giving them something, they'd be like, what's up? You don't love me. But I've been with you all day long. I don't care. You haven't given me, so having an understanding of your person that you're spending or dating, what their love language is, and will that work for you as you try to pursue a relationship. But those are some of the key things, conversations you're going to have. But at the end of the day, really, I think the Bible talks about, men leaving their families and starting their own, you've got to create for men. They have to create their own families and find someone that will fit what they're looking for, And so you find that person, you have a conversation, you're kind of interviewing while you're dating, and then you say, hey, does this person love? Can I speak love into this person? Can I encourage this? Is this something I can do? I'm willing to do. And if you think you can do it, and you come say, I think I can do this. I think I can love you for the rest of my life. And I'm celebrating 40 years of marriage. So I think I've been doing a pretty decent job of loving a person.
Doing all right.
and she's still smiling. As long as she's smiling, I think I'm doing okay. So at the end of the day, is you're trying to have a long-term relationship where you both are growing, you're living your best life. You're not limiting either, but you're growing together. And one thing that you mentioned earlier, I think is important, is having those conversations about what it is, the roles we're going to play, and having shared goals, because you might have to wash dishes one week, and the next week, no, you don't, because I got your back. And being able to communicate about those things, I'm going to be working long hours coming up here because I got this extra role. I'm the chairman of this committee for these new interns coming in. So I've got to put some extra energy into this. So cause for the next 2 weeks while I'm doing it, if you don't mind taking my role in this other area, and I'll make it up some kind of way, but I know, just having a conversation, that person say, yeah, I got your back. And so you're having those shared goals, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that was a conversation we had, right? Because it was like, there's weeks when everything's crazy and it's just like, could you help out this week? But it feels like it's your responsibility. And so sometimes you're like, oh, should I say this? Like, should I just do it? But just like, sometimes you want that other person to help you out in that time. Right. And so there's times when I'm slow and you have weeks in which you're not as busy. And it's like, well, yeah, of course I'll do this. Right. I can come home at a reasonable time, put the kids to bed, wash the dishes. And especially right now, because now, and Kira's gone back to work and she's gone back to teaching. So she teaches And so she's with the kids, takes them to school, brings them home. So she's with the kids most of the time. And so like when I come home, it's sort of like, all right, she has a break. And so I kind of take over from there with the kids, put them to bed, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, there's days where, I don't think at this point we really have a system on who washes dishes. It's sort of like, hey, if you can do it that day, you do it. Sometimes I do it, sometimes she does it. Same thing with laundry sometimes. We just kind of like make do because we both have things going on, and so it's not always like on one person now.
Right.
But that's a sacrifice that we've had to make, right? That we've negotiated. Hey, she was like, hey, I really want to go back to work. I really want to do this, and so, all right, let's have a conversation about what that looks like, because no longer can I just expect you to pick up the kids and do this stuff. So now sometimes I have to take the kids to the dentist appointment. I have to pick them up from school this day. I have to do this. I have to, but we've had to have that conversation, and, I'm willing to make that sacrifice.
Nice.
And, but we also understand that, hey, maybe we can't do this, or maybe it's like, I don't know if that's going to happen. We've had to say, I don't think this is going to work for us. In this way, or the kids aren't going to be able to get this, because neither one of us can take them, today, or, whatnot. And so sometimes you just have to live with that as well. And, it's worked for us so far. I think, we're finding, and it's a new thing for us to kind of navigate that with, the demands of what our careers are right now.
Right. And I think the other thing too that's on your favor is what I love about parenting and kids is that you actually set the tone and expectations for them. So when you start talking to your kids about this is a family, you're part of this family. And so one of the things that you need to do as kids is pick up after yourself. Your role is to wash dishes on this day, kid. We're going to start showing you how to do this. Your job is going to be doing this to help maintain the house. You start giving them roles that they need to start stepping into as part of the family. And everybody's working together. So it's like we're not just, we're going to be the parents, do all. No. As those kids age, you actually get to sit down with your wife and say, hey, at this point, they're going to be doing this. At this point, they're going to be doing that. Having that conversation, getting them more, I guess, have them have more skin in the game as far as being a part of the family. Family is not you just come home and play. No, family is, we got this house we got to maintain. Your job is just wipe this down every day. Wipe this down. You can wipe this down. Your job is to make sure this mat, just give them little stuff that they need to do. Your job is make sure at the end of the day, the car, there's no paper in the car on the floor at all. Your job, go in there, take all the paper you see, put it in the trash. Give them little things like that so they can be invested in the family life. And then when they do it, hey, great job. The car's looking good. There's no paper in the car. Your car's to vacuum that car, make sure it's clean, because when we go places, we want the car, so give them little parts that they can, jobs they can do as well. And they don't know any better. They're going to do it because you guys are setting, you're the parents,
As long as everybody has their own job, because I think that's the thing that right now we sort of we put it all on Asher right now.
Yeah.
He does a lot because he's the oldest and he can do the most, but finding jobs for the other ones they can do consistently because he's like, well, what are they supposed to do? And it's like, all right, fair enough. So that's a thought, because I think right now we're not as consistent with that. Like when we're doing like a big cleaning day and stuff like that, then yes, we'll definitely say, okay, you do this, you do that. But I think during the day, like day to day, it's sort of just like, make sure you take your stuff out of the van, make sure you pack your snacks and get your bags ready and do these sort of things, but not like other household tasks.
No, they need to do
every day. But we might need to like just incorporate that into every day. This is your job, and then this one is your job, and make sure that this is done every day, as opposed to whenever I thought about it, here you go. I'm gonna tell you to do this thing, or this has gotten out of hand. Go take care of this now.
Right.
Yeah,
that's the fun part. That's the fun part. Yeah. And so I really think though that dating, I couldn't possibly know what it's like now to date with social media and everything that's out there. But there was one thing that I did do when I was dating your mom. I did not get on the first bus that came along. I actually dated some other women and I told them up front, I'm looking to get married, and I'm interviewing you. Look, and they were like, what? I said, yeah. And so, and I did date a professional woman, and guess what? She was always busy. I was like, I'm tired. I'm busy. I'm getting ready to go. I was like, okay, this is not going to work. I could tell it was just not going to work. Whereas with your mom, whenever I said, let's do something, hey, she's ready to go. She had a lot of energy, never said no. She's always making herself available. I said, we can work with this. So with any relationship, regardless if they're professional or not professional, if they're not willing to put the time into it, not available, it's just not going to be, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
That's my last thought on that.
No, that's perfect. That's a perfect way to end it. I think it's great. Thank you for this conversation. The nuance. We didn't get into the whole. We didn't make it very controversial. I think it was very practical, because these conversations can quickly go off the rails sometimes. So yeah, thanks for having this discussion, sharing that advice. Because I gained some things from that I can incorporate to my life. Like my kid's about to be doing everything now. No, joking. But yeah, so I appreciate sharing your thoughts on that, and thanks for another episode, Dad. I don't know, any final closing thoughts that you have?
Hey, no, just remember when you're dating, if it's just dating, all you're doing is basically looking to see if this person even qualify for more of your time. Once they qualify more of your time, then you got to realize, are you ready? Are you prepared and willing to give up some of yourself for that other person's relationship to make it work?
Awesome. Well, there you have it. That's the wisdom from on high. He's the man with the plan. Appreciate your thoughts and your insight today, Dad. And thank you all for listening. Hopefully you've gained something. It makes you think a little bit more. You can, start to reflect on certain things that you might want to incorporate into your own lives, your own relationships. So that's hopefully the goal. And we thank you for joining us for another episode. With that, we'll close with our quote from Arthur Ashe that says, "Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can." We'll see you next time.